Good morning. My name is Mary Copeland, and welcome to the May Compass Points. Our Lunch and Learns are put together so we can help educate you and entertain you simultaneously. This month's topic is cycling health, and we are going to kick off today's Lunch and Learn with Garth, who is with Pedego Sequim, and he is going to educate us on electric bikes, what they are, what their benefits are, how much they cost, and all the good information about it. So Garth, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. And hello, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me. And it's always fun to talk about electric bicycles. So for those of you who have been trapped at home or not really paying attention to the news, or you really don't know what's going on in the world, right now we're in the largest bicycle boom that's in the history of the world. So there's more people cycling now than ever before in history. And that's for all kinds of bicycles, regular bicycles, and especially electric bicycles. But 2019 was a pivotal year, and that was the first year that electric bicycle sales surpassed regular bike sales, and they haven't looked back. So although cycling's been around since the 1800s, right now we are seeing a definite flip-flop in the industry again. So this happens once every now and then, 10 years or 20 years, there's a big change in the industry. In the 1980s, it was mountain bikes were kind of invented and discovered. And so people started buying mountain bikes instead of regular road bikes. Well, right now, the big boom is electric bicycles for sure. And the reason why people buy electric bicycles is for all the reasons that people actually stop cycling. So if you take into account that hills are very steep and hard, that mileage can be very long and difficult for people, aging situations, just aches and pains of the human body, or just the fact that we don't get to do it regular enough that we discover that once we get back on a bike again, it's difficult to get back into shape. So electric bikes remove all of those problems, and that's why people are discovering cycling in large numbers again. So we're going to talk a little bit about the legality of electric bikes so you guys can understand that, and then we're going to talk about the different kinds of electric bikes and how they work. It's kind of like being a 16-year-old kid looking at cars for the first time. There's all kinds of cars, and they range anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000, and you don't know why. So we're going to try to make this very simple so that people understand what you're getting and what you're buying and what it does. So first of all, what is an electric bicycle? It's basically a bicycle that has an electric motor and a battery located on it somewhere, and it can help the person ride. It doesn't do the work for you. It just helps you. So you still are cycling, you're still pedaling and riding like a normal bicycle, but you will have a motor that is going to assist you. And there's two different kinds. You can have pedal assist, which means it's like giving you bionic legs, and you have different levels of pedal assist. So when you turn the motor on, it will assist you only while you're pedaling. If you're coasting, the bike will coast, just like a regular bicycle. And then you have throttles, and throttles can do the same thing. Just like on a motorcycle, you can twist the throttle and get some help, or you can just coast and ride it like a regular bike. And some bicycles will have a combination of both. And we'll talk about that when we get into the legality of e-bikes. The term e-bikes just means electric bicycles, and not all electric bicycles are created equal. So much like in the regular world, you get what you pay for. In electric bicycles, it's very true as well. If you're buying premium bicycles, they're going to be ranging anywhere from $2,000 to say, $7,000. Most people in the United States are purchasing somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. And then anything under $2,000 is going to be considered more your discount products. And the reason why is because a good battery and a good motor system is going to cost at least $1,500. Now that's just for the battery and the motor. So if you're buying an electric bicycle for $1,500, you can kind of assume what quality of battery and motor you're receiving. So let's go into the legality of e-bikes in America. And there's a bill, and it's 1096, and we now have a new amended bill, so it's AB 1096, and that breaks out electric bicycles out of motor vehicles. An electric bicycle is
You just froze, Garth. Is it just me, or did Garth freeze for you guys too? Okay. Garth, you'll need to check your internet.
Too many kilometers per hour. So here in America, we are limiting the bike in a class 1 to 250 watt motor and 20 miles per hour top speed. That is legal as a bicycle.
Garth, your internet connection might be a little spotty right now because you just froze for the second time. Do you need to refresh your screen or exit and come back in?
It's not going to be all you. So if you're going down a hill and coasting, you obviously could go faster than 20 on any of these bicycles. They do coast, but 20 miles per hour is the top limit. And that is also legal as a bicycle everywhere that bicycles are legal. So that is a class 2. Class 3 is the catch. You have to watch out for class 3. A class 3 is in any e-bike that can be a 750 watt motor or greater. It can go 28 miles per hour or faster, and they are not legal as bicycles. It is actually considered and treated as a moped, which means you do not have to have a motorcycle driver's license, but you must be 16 years old and have a driver's license. So in order to ride a class 3 in America, you need to have be 16 years old, have a driver's license, and you must be wearing a motorcycle helmet, not a bicycle helmet, and you have to be in the street. You can go in bike lanes, but you're not allowed to go in a separated bike path. So the Olympic Discovery Trail would be not actually authorized for class 3s. Right now, Clown County and several of the other counties are trying to decide what they're going to allow and what they're going to accept as far as the classes go. But just know that class 1 and class 2 are legal everywhere that a bicycle is legal, and class 3s are still being decided upon, and it's a gray area. In most cases, in most cities, they are outlawing class 3s on bicycle paths altogether, and they're just requiring that they be in the street like a moped or a motorcycle or a car. So why have the different classes? Well, a class 1 bike is really for someone who's just a pure cyclist who just wants a little bit of help. 250 watts is not much help. 250 watts it's about the power that an average cyclist can put out while riding. So think of it as just having one more of yourself kind of helping out. And a 500 watt motor can push a lot more weight. So 500 watts is for people who definitely, I want you to think of wattage pushes the poundage. Okay. So if you have a 250 watt motor, it can only push about 250 pounds. If you have a 500 watt motor, it can push 500 pounds. So for people who haven't ridden a bike for a long time, and we have a lot of customers that will be up around the 300 to 400 pound range, they can ride an e-bike, but they're going to need a stronger motor. So you would want a 500 watt motor because it can push that 500 pounds. So, and then the reason for larger motors on class 3s is just to get pure speed out of it. And the reason why you would want something that goes really fast is really just for commuting purposes. Let's say you lived in a city and you were using your e-bike in the streets just to go back and forth to work. Well, that's where a class 3 would come in handy, because most speed limits in the city are going to be 25 to 35 miles per hour on the streets. Well, if you're on a bike that can go that fast, then you can take the lane and be very safe because you can go the same speed as the traffic. So that's the reason for the different classes. Now let's focus on the different kinds of motors. You're going to hear all kinds of terms. You're going to hear, my e-bike is a mid-drive, or my e-bike is a hub drive, or my e-bike is a brushless motor, or all these different terms. And really, it's unfortunate that kind of confuses people. But really, all electric bikes are working in the same principle. They have an electric motor, and they have a battery that keeps that motor going. So let's talk about the different places of where a motor is. If a motor is mid-drive, that means the motor is where the pedals are, where your cranks are. So the only way that can work is by pedaling. You have to pedal with your feet, and then they typically have a torque sensor which senses when those pedals are moving, and then the motor will automatically kick on and help assist you. It's kind of a funny feeling when you first ride an electric bike and you push on the pedals. It feels like somebody's pushing you, like somebody's helping you, and that's what's exciting about that. The upside to a pedal assist only bike is you can only pedal. You have to pedal, and there's no other way to ride it. So it's just like riding a bicycle. The only difference is you are now stronger. So that is a class 1, and all class 1 e-bikes are going to be just a pedal assist only, and they're going to be a mid-drive. Now let's talk about a hub drive. A hub drive motor is the same type of drive system that a Tesla car uses. Tesla cars have motors in the wheels. So the motors are on all four wheels, and that's called a hub drive. And it's directly driven from the rear wheel to the ground. So the pedals are actually independent. You can shift gears, you can ride it like normal, but when it engages the power is going directly from that rear wheel down to the ground. Versus a mid-drive, the power goes through the chain, through the derailleurs to the ground. So if you're riding a class 1 mid-drive bike and you want to go up a hill, you have to shift, just like on a regular bicycle. You must shift it into a lower gear. If you're on a hub drive bike and you're going up a hill, you don't even have to shift. The power is going directly to that wheel. You can increase the levels of assist. The other nice thing about a class 2, since it's a hub drive, is you can have a throttle. And if you have a throttle on there, then that's totally independent. Just like on a motorcycle, you twist the throttle and the rear wheel will drive, and that will propel you forward. So it's a nice feature to have for people who maybe have disabilities. If someone gets exhausted and tired and they can't pedal anymore, well, if you had a class 1, you still have to pedal to get home, but on a class 2, they could just twist the throttle and go home. So they both have their place. They both have a lot of reasons why people like to ride one or the other. But in a nutshell, they're both going to assist a person and help you out. Class 3s can be either or. They can be pedal assist mid-drives, or they can be a hub drive throttle assisted bike as well. So it doesn't really matter in class 3. We're just going to focus more on the 1s and 2s. Now let's talk about which one is better for which application. So if I was going to buy a mountain bike and I wanted to go very slow off-road, and it's going to be very steep hills and really rugged conditions, and I don't want a ton of speed, but I want a lot of torque and control, and I want a lot of traction, then that's the place where a mid-drive class 1 bike is going to be most effective. The other reason why that's effective is the weight is in the pedals and not in the wheels. And if we had suspension on our mountain bike, that allows the wheels to go up and down and not be affected by that added weight. So in off-road situations or in very steep hilly situations where I want to go slow and have a lot of control, then a mid-drive is going to be the best option. Now, if I want to ride high miles and I want to do long distances and I want to have the option of pedaling or not pedaling, and I wanted to go fast or slow or have everything that I possibly wanted to, that's really where the case where a class 2 is going to win out. Class 2s are a bike that I use every day to commute back and forth to work. And my dog rides on my bike to work every day with me. And so I have a 70-pound dog riding on my bicycle with me, and that's a lot of weight. And if I had a class 1, every time I come to a stop sign or a stoplight, I would have to shift into first gear just so that I could get going again. But the fact that I have a class 2, I can leave my bike in 7th gear and just stop at a stop sign or a stoplight, twist the throttle, take off, and start pedaling again. So it allows me that freedom to be able to stop and get going again without having to worry about which gear I'm in. And that makes it really nice. The other nice thing about having a motor that's directly driving to the rear wheel is it's a little bit more efficient. There's no energy lost going through the chain or through the drivetrain or through the derailleurs. So I can get more mileage out of it. In today's time, e-bikes have gone a long way, and we're getting more mileage out of them than ever before. I've been doing this for 7 years now with just electric bikes. I've been in the bicycle business since 1982, so been doing this a very long time. And even in the early 90s, I swore that I would never sell electric bikes. I just thought it was ridiculous and silly, but they were very archaic back then. And if an electric bike made it 15, 20 miles, that was a miracle. Nowadays, we have bicycles that go well over 100 miles per charge. So our newest battery, as a matter of fact, that Pedego just came out with, is a 17.5 amp hour battery, which is 910 watt hours, which means I could go nonstop for about 120 to 130 miles. And that's pretty impressive, given the fact that just only 3 years ago, we were doing really good if we could go 40 to 50 miles. So the technology has come a long way. Lithium ion batteries are the culprit behind making electric bikes better and better. And then obviously the technology and the motors and the controllers has gotten better.
You just froze again. I don't know if you can hear me, Garth, but refresh your internet. Hopefully he unfreezes because this has been such great information.
To older people, but you can't really be an expert at everything. So some companies are better at making bicycles for younger people, and some companies are better at making bicycles for older people. And why do I say that? Because Pedego focuses on things like very comfortable seats and upright seating positions. You don't have to bend over. So we have people who have spinal issues or back issues or aches or pains. We have bikes with extremely low step-through frames and it's called a boomerang, and it's a play on words designed for baby boomers that have replaced hips and knees. So people who have lost their mobility or their flexibility, they can buy a bicycle and still get on it and ride. And we have electric tricycles for those people who've maybe even gotten too old and can't balance anymore. The most recent electric trike we just delivered, the last one we just did, was to a gentleman in Sequim who just turned 100 years old. So we have a gentleman who's 100 years old who's riding an electric trike around, and it's because he didn't want to lose his freedom. He was tired of everybody in his family giving him rides everywhere and being treated like he was, incapable of doing anything on his own. And this electric trike has given him his freedom. He can ride back and forth to the store, go to the grocery store, and he's loving life. That's pretty impressive there. That's pretty awesome. But the beauty is I do sell a lot of bicycles to people with disabilities. We have people who have all kinds of, things that have gone wrong in their life and had, like I say, replaced hips or knees or back pains or problems or just old injuries or what have you. And if you go to a physical therapist, one of the first things they're going to do to rehab you is put you on a stationary bicycle. And why is that? Because it's aerobic and anaerobic, and it's a very nice exercise that's easy on the joints, and you can just spin around, and it helps people rehab. So I'm going to get to one very important subject, and that is we always hear this comment that when people say, "Oh, I want to get a regular bicycle because I want to get in shape, and when I get old and I can't ride anymore, then I'll get an electric bicycle." That's actually the furthest thing from the truth. So studies have already proven, there's enough of them that have been done. Harvard's done some studies, and Stanford has done some studies on electric bicycles and the people riding them, and they've discovered that you get just as much exercise as riding a regular bicycle. And the reason why is because we're humans. Now think about this for a minute. If I gave you bionic legs today, would you walk the same distances that you do today? And the answer is no. You'd walk further, you'd run. We're still human, so we're going to push our bodies to the maximum limit of what we're capable of. Now, if you're on a regular bicycle and your limit is 10 miles, you're going to ride 10 miles and you're going to be done. But if I put you on a bicycle and now all of a sudden your new limit is 50 miles, you're going to ride 50 miles. So we discovered that what will happen is people will still ride their bicycle to the point of human exhaustion. It's human nature. We tend to do that. We tend to push ourselves, and it just opens up new horizons. If you knew that you can take your bicycle, ride from Sequim to Port Angeles just to have lunch and ride back home just for fun, would you do it? And what happens is people find out they do enjoy that. And when they initially come into a store, they don't ever think about stuff like that. Or do like my wife and I did. Perhaps just take your electric bicycles on the ferry and go to the San Juan Islands and ride all the San Juan Islands and just explore the islands for fun. It's a lot cheaper than taking your car. You're a walk-on, you're a passenger, and then you have transportation and you can ride everywhere you want. So the nature of an electric bicycle is it just really extends your capabilities of what you want to do or what you can dream of doing. So that's really the neatest thing about it. Now, as far as Pedego goes, we have bicycles that range as low as $1,695 all the way up to our most expensive bike is around the $5,000 mark. Like I said, most people are buying somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000, and that's for quality equipment. So I'm going to separate what quality equipment is and economy equipment. As you know, most everything today is built in China. So anything that's coming out of China, 100%, a lot of the cheaper electric bicycles, they're not going to have any warranties. It could be anywhere from $500 to say $1,500. And they're just cheaply built. In China, they build bicycles in what we call lots. So they'll build a lot. They might build a run of 1,000 bicycles. They might build a run of 10,000 bicycles. They put them on ocean containers and they ship them around the world. Now here's the big problem. They don't put parts on these ocean containers and ship the parts around the world. They put bicycles on there. So when the bicycles arrive to the end consumer, you have a bicycle with complete parts. Unfortunately, there's no dealers to service that bicycle, and there's no parts that exist in the United States for that bicycle. So although it's very cheap, it's a one-shot deal. So once that bicycle breaks down, it's 100% on you to fix it, and or you'll just throw it away and replace it. So that's the downside. And that's called planned obsolescence. We're not a big fan of that. So Pedego's been doing this for 15 years. All of their bikes are finished in Fountain Valley, California. Yes, it's true. All of our parts come from around the world. We have parts that come from Germany and Japan and China and Indonesia and everywhere. It requires 52 different components to build a bicycle. So they do come from around the world. And unfortunately, I wish I could say that everything was made in America, but we don't even have any tires or seats or grips or certain things being made in America. So we do have to buy parts from around the world. But final assemblies in Fountain Valley, California. All of our parts are in Fountain Valley, California, and all the Pedego bicycles carry a 5-year complete warranty. That means me as a dealer, I have to take care of that bicycle completely for 5 years. Everything. I have to do the labor on it. I have to take care of it. I have to give it its tune-ups. And so it's our job to maintain that bicycle. Now, the beauty is that bicycle is actually designed to last a lot longer than that, because even if after 5 years, if somebody wanted to trade it in and get a new bicycle, they can. I can go through that bicycle, give it its 50-point inspection, put it back on the market, resell it as a pre-loved Pedego, and it will have a 2-year warranty. So technically, we're warranting our bicycles out to 7 to 10 years, depending on when they're bought and when they're sold. So that's kind of a nutshell of why Pedego is a little bit different. When you're comparing electric bicycles, you'll discover that there's a lot of companies that are apples and oranges. Now, the greatest advice I can give you, you don't have to buy a Pedego. You can buy anything you want in this world, and that's the beauty of America. But the one advice I will give you is whatever you buy, if you don't want to work on it or you don't want to throw it away, you better make sure that somebody can service that unit. So if you're buying something off the internet, you will be dealing with the internet. If you buy something from a store or a bike shop, you will be dealing with that bike shop. So you definitely want to make sure that whatever a shop is selling, that they're going to be able to service and repair that unit. There have been a lot of companies that have come and gone in the last 15 years. We've lost over 47 electric bike companies in the last 15 years. That means they started, they couldn't quite make it, and they closed their doors. And so today, there's a lot of people out there who have electric bicycles that have some unknown name where there's no parts that exist for it. And if it does stop working or breaks, you will be throwing it in the garbage. So not much else you can do with it other than take everything off and turn it into a regular bike. But that's not the reason why we bought an electric bike. So we definitely want to make sure that what we're buying is going to last us and do the job that we want to do. The other advice I tell people is buy for the 90%. So a lot of times people will come in and they say, I want to get one of those bikes with the big fat tires that can go off-road. And I say, you're 75 years old. How much mountain biking and off-road riding are you going to do? Let's be real here. And what will happen is you'll find that you'll be very unhappy. That would be like saying, I'm going to go buy a complete, lifted Jeep 4x4 or a big giant truck, or something like that, because I need to run to the grocery store to buy groceries. Not really the proper vehicle for that. Maybe you'd be better off with a Prius. So buy for the 90%. If 90% of your riding is riding around on street and trails and just enjoyment and having fun, then buy a bicycle designed for that. And if 90% of your riding is off-road, aggressive, climbing hills, being in the mud and the dirt, then buy a mountain bike, buy an electric mountain bike. So that's the best advice I can give people. I do see quite a few people buying the wrong bike and unfortunately regretting it down the road. So don't buy based on looks. That can bite you. And then another last piece of advice I can give everyone is before you buy your electric bike, if possible, obviously you can't do this on the internet, but before you buy your electric bike, please give it a test ride. Go out and ride the bicycle. Pedego has over 50 different models, and the reason we do is because everybody's different. I can put people on 4 different bicycles and they'll come back in love with one and really not care for the other 3. And there's no way that I or anybody else can tell you which one is going to be your favorite. You really have to feel it for yourself. Bicycle riding is one of the most effective forms of transportation that's ever been invented on this earth. And the interesting thing about it is it's a full contact sport. You're touching the handlebars with both of your hands, so you feel the road. You're touching the pedals with both of your feet, so you feel the power and you feel the progression. And your butt is sitting on a saddle, so everything that you're riding over transmits right up through your body and through your spine. So it's a very tactile sport. You can feel the road, you can feel the terrain, you can feel the conditions, wind on your face, and your breathing and everything else. So it's a very, very fun sport. Right now in the bicycle industry, you're going to see a lot of bike manufacturers are really struggling, and we're all in the same boat. Pedego can build, like I said, about 3,000 bicycles a month, but right now we're selling about 10 to 12,000 bicycles a month nationwide. So we're in a little bit of a bind where some of the parts companies are having a hard time catching up. We're still delivering bikes weekly, which is awesome. But some manufacturers out there right now are telling people, if you want a bicycle, you're going to have to wait till probably October, November, or maybe even next year. So it's unfortunate for the people who are just discovering electric bikes now and wanting to come into the store and look at bikes and think they can get every color and every model and every size. And that's just not the truth. It's just not the case right now. We are in the biggest boom we've ever seen in the history of the world. And it's a good thing. The pandemic has definitely showed people that we can play at home, we can get outside, we can get exercise. It's healthy, it's good for you, you're breathing fresh air, and you're enjoying your beautiful area. So with that, I'll leave it open for any questions.
I have a question, and I would like to know, Garth, how do you charge your bikes? Are they only self-charge while you're pedaling, or do you plug it in overnight, or?
That's a great question, Mary. People ask me this all the time. They say, do these bicycles charge while you pedal? And the answer is no. All the bicycles charge just like your cell phone. You plug them into the wall and they charge within a couple hours. The cheaper bikes will take maybe all night long to charge. Our bikes charge up in about 2 hours flat. So it's just like a cell phone. It comes with a smart charger. You plug it into the wall, tops it off, and you're good to go for another 100 miles or so. The bikes that pedal, the bikes that charge through what we call regen, and regen is a situation where if you're pedaling or you're braking or you're slowing down, it'll backfeed some power into the battery. They're not that effective yet. They haven't really quite perfected it. So regen does a couple problems. It adds about 10 pounds to the weight of the bicycle. It adds about $1,000 in cost to the bicycle. And if I'm using regen as much as I can, it'll only backfeed the motor about anywhere from 10 to 15 miles of range. And the downside is regen can cost $1,000. Well, if you bought a $1,000 battery and you had a spare extra battery for $1,000, you're talking about 100-mile range. So regen's just not cost effective yet, and it doesn't really work. And it creates too much drag on the bicycle that it won't coast and feel like a normal bicycle. So the battery technology has gotten so good, we don't need regen. And there was a company around pushing regen. It was called Stromer. And Stromer was a very expensive bike company. Most of their bicycles ranged anywhere from $6,500 to $9,500. And they were out of Germany. It was a very high-tech proposition for an electric bicycle. They tried to sell their bicycles and they failed. And Stromer is now out of business and gone. So the companies that are or were using regen are changing their minds, and they're realizing that if they put a longer range battery on, that's really the better choice.
When you say they recharge, like in a Pedego bike, you can plug it in and in a couple of hours it's charged. If somebody's going on a trip for the day, can they bring that charging system with them?
Yes, they can. And the beauty is the first person to ride around the entire world did it on a Pedego. He was a 73-year-old English gentleman, cancer survivor with a tracheotomy hole in his throat. And if you'd like to see his story, it's at pedego.com. It's an amazing story. He rode around the entire world and became the first person to ride an electric bicycle around the world. And the way he did it is he had a large battery, so he had a 100-mile range battery, and he would ride up to about 100 miles a day. But when he'd stop for lunch somewhere, he would plug in and top off. Now, when you plug in a bike, let's say you ride from somewhere to another place. Let's say I rode from, Sequim to Port Angeles. And while I'm sitting there having lunch, if I just plug in and top off, in about a half hour, about 30 minutes, the battery would be replenished about 80%. So that's a pretty long range. But I want to back up and challenge anybody who thinks they're going to ride more than 100 miles a day. I challenge you to do it. I'd like to see it.
Do others have questions for Garth?
Yes, I do. My name is Alice. I'm in Alaska, in Anchorage. I'm Lanie's sister, and I bike a lot. But weight is an issue. So maybe I missed that part of you discussing the weight of these bikes. Do they fit up on regular bike racks on the back of my truck, or do I have to have special ramps to get them in? Because I
Great.
always will usually drive to a trailhead.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So that is a condition of the company. So your least expensive electric bicycles are going to be very heavy. Most of the Chinese e-bikes that are being imported can be anywhere from 65 to 95 pounds or more or greater. In some cases, we'll see, I've seen some really inexpensive e-bikes, like $1,000 e-bikes can weigh 100 pounds. So the answer is no, those can't go on a regular bike rack. Most of the Pedegos weigh somewhere in the 40-pound range, and our battery is close to 10 pounds. So if you take the battery off, you're talking about normal bike weight, and they can go on a normal bicycle rack. For safety purposes, a lot of the bike companies, or the companies that make bicycle racks, are producing electric bike hitch racks, and they go into your hitch receiver on your vehicle. If your vehicle doesn't have a hitch receiver, you'd have to have one installed. But those are the best, and you don't really have to lift the bicycle. You can do it half at a time. You can squeeze the rear brake and just lift the front wheel up, and then you can lift the rear wheel up. And if your battery is off the bike, like I said, it's about 10 pounds lighter. So we sell bicycles primarily to people 65 plus. So weight is a very big issue for us. For a lot of companies, it's not an issue, but they just build whatever. If it's made out of steel, it's going to be a lot heavier. All of our bicycles are made out of aluminum, so we keep the weight down and keep it lighter. But yes, we do sell electric bike racks, hitch racks that are for people wanting to have a little bit heavier bicycles on their vehicle and do that. So you can do all the above. It's a catch-22. You either buy a bike rack and you can go different places, or you buy a bigger battery and you can ride from home. So either way, you get to decide. I have a lot of people that developed habits of loading their bicycle to drive somewhere just so they can ride, because their excuse is, well, I live in an area where the hills are too steep to ride. Well, once you get an electric bike, sometimes that eliminates that. I have people that live up on Bell Hill in Sequim, which is a very, very steep hill, and they never used to ride from their house and go do a bike ride, because then the bummer was they had to get home somehow. Well, now that they own electric bikes, they just ride from their house and go down on the Olympic Discovery Trail, do a big long ride, and then ride home, and it's not a big deal. So, but yes, if you're going to travel with your bicycles, like a lot of people who RV, we have a lot of people who do RVing, and they will ditch their tow vehicle or motorcycles or whatever else they used to carry with them, and now they just put a hitch receiver rack on the back of their RV, or they'll put them in their trailer or whatever, and take their electric bikes with them. That way they have transportation when they arrive to their camping spot. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It's not that far to get to the trails. A lot of times I just ride to them, but a bicycle rack probably is the best option for that I'm looking at. And the weight,
Yeah.
It's not a carbon fiber frame, so
Yeah.
you do have that aluminum weight, but that's better than steel. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
good
So
information.
we don't have anybody have any problems, and there's lots of good racks on the market. I'm not going to push any one brand, but I will tell you the most popular one is made by Thule, Thule. And Thule makes several different models that are really nice. And part of the reason people like their racks is because they come with receiver locks. They come with locks for the bicycles. They come with an anti-sway system so they don't shake around and vibrate on the back of the vehicle. And they have a lifetime warranty. So it's just a good quality company. We trust in several different companies, but the Thule racks are definitely the most asked for.
Thank you, Garth. Good
You're
information. I don't have an electric bike, but there could come a time when I will. So
Yep. It can be everybody's future. I ride bicycles still. I do a lot of cycling. I was a professional cyclist when I was younger. I ride bikes every day. I commute back and forth to work on my electric bike. I still ride regular bicycles too. I ride mountain bikes and I ride gravel bikes. I'll still do big events. I can go out and ride a typical gravel ride of 50 miles plus. I can ride my road bike up to about 100 miles. But e-bike is a different kind of a tool. I use it for different purposes. Even though I don't need an electric bicycle, I still ride them because it extends my range or my capabilities. The other thing I really like about having an e-bike myself is my wife and I are at two different levels of abilities. I'm a much stronger.
You froze again, Garth. So just keep talking through it. Kent, you're on with us now, and I know you had some technical difficulties. So when Garth unfreezes, if you have a question for him, please ask. And then we're going to roll into Lanie, who will be talking about Sequim Wheelers.
Say you're a carpenter, and I give you a saw, and you have a handsaw. A handsaw cuts wood just great. And now I give you a power saw. Well, a power saw cuts wood even easier. So think of an electric bicycle as a power saw and a regular bicycle as a handsaw. They both cut wood, and they both do the same job, but one just does it a lot easier.
Garth, we have Kent with us who had technical difficulties, so I want to see if he has any questions before we let you go and jump into Sequim Wheelers.
Sure.
Kent, any questions, Kent? And Kent, by the way, we are recording this so you can watch the whole thing. Well, he did not unmute. Garth, can you give us the website, please?
Yes, it's pedego.com. That's Pedego.com.
Okay.
And you can find all the bikes. Our prices are listed. Everything's listed. All the colors are there. You can build a bike online and see what the price would cost you, and so on and so forth. But whenever a person is ready for getting more serious about electric bicycles, I always recommend to go down to your nearest store, test ride the bikes, listen to what they have to say, and be honest about where you're going to ride it, what you're going to do with it, and what you're really expecting out of that bicycle. And then that way a person can best suit you with the size of battery or the type of bike or your needs. And it'll be a good fit. And don't worry too much about figuring everything out until you start doing your first rides. I have a lot of people that will get caught up into just really overthinking it, and they're trying to learn everything about the wattage and the voltage and the amp hours and all this stuff, and they just get overwhelmed with too much information, and they don't even know how the bike works. And the first time they come in and go for a ride, they come back and they go, oh, I get it now. I totally get it. So do yourself a favor. If you've never tried one, stop in at our store, try out what an electric bike is all about, and you too will understand it a lot easier than me just talking at you.
Garth, you were a wealth of information. I know you are completely swamped. I appreciate you taking time to talk with us today and educate us on electric bikes. I highly suggest anybody that listens to this recording that they do give Garth a call at his shop in Sequim. I think they're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Sundays and Mondays, we're closed.
Mondays and Mondays. So Tuesday through Saturday, go down and visit. We'll let you go unless you're going to stay on to hear Sequim Wheelers. I know you're in a shop right now. I can hear.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so.
Thank you, Garth.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
So now Lanie is with us, and she is going to educate us on Sequim Wheelers, which is a nonprofit in Sequim. And for those folks that love to be on bicycles, but for one reason or another cannot ride them themselves anymore, Sequim Wheelers has come up with an alternative so that you can be on a bike.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Compass and Clock, for having us and doing an article on us. Sequim Wheelers is all volunteer adapted wheelchair bikes so that anyone that cannot ride a bike by themselves can be on a bicycle, get on the Olympic Discovery Trail, feel the wind in their face, have their hair flow back, be with nature without any cars. So what we do is we have a wheelchair bike, and the wheelchair's in front, the bike is in the back, and we pedal you around. All of our volunteers are background checked, fully trained, and we take you out on the Discovery Trail. You could just sit there, and if you get me as your pilot, I'll talk your ear off, but I'll also listen. And you get to be out, like I said, in nature without any cars. It is so fun. We do this because Sequim is a community of a lot of elders and a lot of people that would love to get out on a trail but can't do it themselves. So this provides them the comfort, the security, and the fun of being on a bicycle again. For me, whenever I get on a bike, I feel like a little kid. So one of the first things I ask our wheelers, the wheeler is the person we're giving the bike ride to, is, when was the last time you were on a bike? And actually I had one woman say she's never been on a bike. And I'm like, well, now you are. What I'm going to put up is a picture of what I think is the absolute definition of what Sequim Wheelers is. And I don't know if I can do this correctly, so bear with me. And let's see, how can I do this?
I
have a picture.
I have the picture on my desktop. Why don't you let me try to do it?
Perfect, thank you. What we do is we leave from the from the Audubon Center, which is now being remodeled, and we immediately get on the Discovery Trail. Our bikes are an hour long, our rides are an hour long, so we go out for a half an hour, turn around and come back. If you like to be fast on a bike, we go fast. If you want to be slower on a bike, we go slow. And this is the picture of giving a demonstration ride. And for me, this is what Sequim Wheelers is all about. And what we do is we'll pick you up at the park and take you for your ride. There are a couple facilities in Sequim where we go to them. Waivers, you must sign a waiver. You have to be able to sit in the bike by yourself and enjoy. All of our volunteers, this is totally nonprofit. No one's getting paid for anything. We don't charge for our rides. We do collect donations because as a business, we do have expenses, whether we are riding or not. 2020, the year that didn't happen, so we were not riding, but we still had our expenses. And we're getting ready to start giving rides again in June. We have, we've had a young man in his early teens who broke both his arms, so he can't ride a bike, so we gave him a bicycle ride. We had this gentleman who I gave him a ride when he was 102, and the year before he got a ride when he was 101. He jumped out of the car, went walking straight up to the bike, plopped right down, as smart as a whip. And we have some people that have some memory problems. This man was in a memory care facility and his wife was there, and he got in the bike and then he was taken out on his ride. And when they got back, he was, oh my God, I saw this bird and I saw this flower and I saw this and I saw that. And the tears were running down his wife's face because he hadn't spoke in over 3 months. So what this provides is not only fun for the wheeler, but for those whose memory might not be quite up with their age to have some fun and to remember the times before. It gives their family knowledge that their loved one is being, having some fun, enjoying life, partaking in life again. And our trail is so gorgeous in the springtime with all, you know, we get to watch the spring happen, summer come along, we go over the Dungeness River, we always stop over in the middle of the river, so then they're not on land anymore. They're over a river and they can hear it, they can see it. In the fall, when the salmon are running, we stop and we look for salmon and we most always see the salmon. So we just provide an outdoor experience, a field trip like you would in school, where you go out, see something new. And we give our rides usually Monday through Thursdays, depending on the weather. We'll start in the afternoon or in the morning. If it's too cold, we start later in the day. If it's too hot, we start earlier. And it's just the most wonderful thing I've ever done. It gives me an opportunity to be of service to my community, to bring smiles to people's faces. A lot of the people in facilities, you know, they don't really get talked to, they get talked at. So we'll ask them, how long have you been in Sequim? What did you used to do? So they get personal attention just for them, no one else. And they get the birds, they get the river, they get the trees and the flowers, and some fun conversation.
Lanie, I tried to share the screen, but I couldn't see that it went up. Did the picture go up?
It went up, and oh wait, okay.
So why don't you try sharing again?
Okay, I'm trying again.
And
Well,
go ahead, keep talking.
okay, I'm just, yes. So does anyone have any questions while I'm trying to get this fabulous picture up?
I was going to ask one. So when
Okay.
when somebody does there you go, thank you. When somebody is wanting a ride with Sequim Wheelers, number one, how do they go about doing that? How do they make a reservation? Is there a cost for it? And then can you also tell us about the pilot program too?
Yes, there is no cost. We are totally volunteers. We don't charge for giving rides. None of our volunteers get paid for anything. All of our collected monies and donations go to keeping this program up and running. What you do is, if you can go to sequim.com, I put it up in chat, and that's our email. You can go to Sequim Wheelers on Facebook, and that'll take you to us. And you just call us and tell us that you'd like a ride, and we'll give you an chance to sign up. What we can do is, if you're not at a facility, we'll pick you up at the Railroad Bridge Park. So someone will need to transport you there. If you have a family member or a friend that wants to ride their own bicycle along with you, they can do that. So you would arrive at the park. We'll put you in one of our chairs. This is called a duet. This was our first bike. And as you can see, you're kind of strapped in. You've got a nice, comfortable seat. You're the wheeler, the woman that's I think she's having a good time based on that laugh. The pilot is me leaning over her, and I am riding the bike. The pilots are all volunteers. They go through a training. They have 3 2-hour trainings to go through, training on the bike, on loading and unloading our wheelers. We do no transporting. If you need help, your facility or whoever brings you to the park will do that part. And we get you strapped in, and then we take you on the trail. We don't go very, very fast, but we do go fast enough that you get that wind blowing in your hair. And we have, I think, about 34 volunteers right now. Some people like to just be a safety, and what the safety is, they ride along with us. They go to intersections and block us off. They watch the wheeler, make sure that they're doing okay, and point out any bumps or holes or divots in the road, so the pilot won't go bumpity bump on the ride.
And a safety rides along with the Sequim wheeler for every trip, correct?
Correct. No one goes out. This picture is a demonstration at a facility. No one goes out without a pilot and a safety. And we have 3 bikes now. Actually, we have 4. We have 2 of the duet. We have another one called an au pair. And then our newest bike is a Fun to Go, which is a side-by-side bike. So if we have 2 bikes, we take 2 safeties. If we have 3 bikes, we'll take 3 or 2 safeties. So no one's ever out alone. We do not use our cell phones while we're on a ride, because that's just not safe, but we must have our cell phones. So if there's any emergency or any problems on the ride, we can stop, call, and take care of whatever needs to be taken care of.
Sequim Wheelers is a nonprofit, and you are providing rides for the community at no cost. So
correct.
How can somebody donate to Sequim Wheelers for such a worthy cause?
Sequim Wheelers has a, like I said, on their Facebook, there's a donate page. You can mail checks to, I'll put it up in chat. And
Chat's not going to work because we're recording this.
oh, okay. So if you can, Facebook is Sequim Wheelers. Our website is Sequim Wheelers sequimwheelers.com. And our email is sequimwheelers@yahoo.com. And Sequim is SEQUIM. We also have a P.O. Box, which is P.O. Box 276, Carlsborg, CARLSBORG, Washington, 98324. And you can call me. My number is 831-428-2626. And again, this is the picture that to me is a one-shot explanation of Sequim Wheelers. This is what we do. We give people rides that can't ride themselves. They have fun. And like I said, we usually ride Monday through Thursday, and we participate in local things here. The non-COVID times, we would be in the parade for the Sequim Irrigation Festival. We go to the Sequim's Farmers Market where we have a bike and we can give little rides to people. We do the Lavender Festival where we are have a bike and a table to sign up at the start of the festival ride. We've gone to a couple of the Lavender festivals and given rides around outside of our usual area. And yeah, it's just it's a fun thing to do. As a volunteer, we do it because we love it, not because we're getting paid for it, not because we have to. We do it because we want to. So that gives the whole program just an extra dollop of sunshine, I think, because it is, you can't be on a ride. I have never been on a ride where I wasn't laughing and having the best time, because to give someone a ride that can't be out, we've had some from Sequim Rehab, some people that are, in a facility that can't even move around on their own, and they get out on a bicycle in the fresh air and they have the most wonderful time. So
Gratifying.
it is. I mean, the first ride that I went on, I felt like I was ripping them off. Like I was getting more out of this than I was getting. And someone said, "That's okay." And I'm like, but no. We also deal with Clallam Mosaics. Clallam is our county. Clallam Mosaics is a program with young adults that have many different mental challenges or physical challenges. And we take them for rides, and that's going to be our first ride in 2021. It's going to be at Carrie Blake Park on May 28th in 1 week at 1 o'clock, and we're going to be giving their people rides on the bike, and we'll ride around Carrie Blake Park. And again, you get to see the flowers, the ducks, and the pond, and the other people riding around. People on the Discovery Trail, you've got your regular walkers and the dogs, and then you'll see us, and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And it's like, "Hi, how are you? Hey, we missed you last week." So our wheelers get that familiarity. They have their community is saying hi to them, and they're being a part of it because they're making a difference. And the dogs, well, some people don't really like dogs, but most people do. So we can stop and say hi to some dogs. And that's a joy for some people. Some of them are just like, "Oh, I haven't." And we've got big dogs, they've got the little ones, and the fresh air in the Dungeness River. I mean, it is just a marvelous thing. It's a way to show off our town, our community, and the environment that we're in. The people in Sequim love each other, and we're a community.
Alice or Amber, do you have any questions for Lanie?
I do, Lanie. So these bikes are e-bikes?
No, they're battery assist. So what that means is, okay, so we have, even if you have a 100-pound person, and we can go up to 260 pounds, you've got some weight in front of you, so you need a boost. So the battery assist, how it's different from an e-bike is I'm pedaling, I put it in the battery assist, that gives me an assist. If I stop pedaling, the battery assist stops working. So it's not where I can just, you know, put it in assist and don't have to pedal. But what we want is to give our people a smooth ride. So if I'm, you know, jerking and huffing and puffing to get up a little hill, they're not getting a smooth ride. If I have a battery assist, then I can just keep, you know, keep them nice and smooth. We don't want them we don't jar them around. This is not a roller coaster, an old wooden roller coaster where you get knocked around. This is like a smaller, newer roller coaster where it's just nice and smooth.
Okay, that's a, I was wondering about the difference between what you have and what we heard about e-bikes. So
Yes, the big difference is it's assisting. If you stop pedaling, no assisting.
Amber,
But you don't.
I was going to see if Amber had any questions.
I just had a little one, which is there like a particular place that's more popular that you take your riders than others?
We give them a ride on the Discovery Trail from the Railroad Bridge Park.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is to get them out in nature, away from cars, and where the bike can be, you know, there's no big hills. You know, we could just give them a nice smooth ride. We get down to where we pass Sequim Airport, you know, so it's off to one side of us. So we've stopped and watched airplanes take off and land. And we have some special rides that we will give in the summer when they have music at the park. We'll give rides, we'll pick them up where we keep our bike shed, which is close to the Railroad Bridge Park, and we'll ride them across town to Carrie Blake Park to listen to the live music. The fun part about that is you're being around people, you're hearing live music. The unfun part about that is most of the time is we're riding in the streets, but we have beautiful neighborhoods and they're well, you know, the flower and the landscaping is very nice and they still get a good ride.
Good.
Wonderful.
And we've given rides to, there's this woman, you know, who's blind. And so a young gal. And so we've taken her for the music several times. So, you know, if the only requirement is if you can't ride a bike yourself, we can give you a ride. We're safe, we're qualified.
I love
wonderful.
what Sequim Wheelers has put together to help those that want to be out on a bike, but just simply can't do it themselves.
And this all started when our founder, Nicole, who's an avid bicycle rider, she's also a special ed teacher. She was, you know, tootling around on the internet on the Olympic Discovery Trail, got taken to another bicycle site. And so she was investigating that and went, Sequim is the perfect, we have the perfect people here. This is perfect for our town. And so that's how she started it. She went to an MS meeting with a page that she had copied from the internet and talked to them. The woman that was there took the paper to her husband, who's a graphic designer, retired, and said, fix it. And then he came up with a poster. My neighbor came over to me with the poster, and I was hooked. I was immediately just boom. So starting with an idea, she took it to several different places. The Lions Club and Sequim were a big donation. So in December of 2017, she had this idea, started working on it. And by June of 2018, we had a bike. The bikes are $8,500 and $500 for shipping. So they're not cheap. So we had a bike. The first introduction to this, we had 30 people show up. 90% of them stayed and are still with us today. So that's how a nonprofit works. If you come up with an idea, you take it around town, her heart's big. Everybody else that's involved here, our hearts are just big, and we want people to have fun and to enjoy being on a bike.
Thank you so much, Lanie, for
My
educating
pleasure.
all of us on Sequim Wheelers. We're going to need to sign off because I promised to keep this to 1 hour. So again, Sequim Wheelers, the website is www.sequimwheelers.com. Sequim Wheelers. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to bringing you another Compass Point next month.
Thank you, Mary.